All right, welcome back to Rehab Renegade. So today we're talking about cervicogenic headaches. As we talk about in the blog, those are headaches that are started by the neck. So what we're going to go over first are a couple tests to see whether or not your headache is cervicogenic. So test number one, we do this in clinic a lot. We flex the patient's head forward and then we rotate to see how much motion they have at those upper cervical segments. A lot of times in research, we're attributing those cervicogenic headaches to the upper cervical segments. So first, what you can try doing is flex your chin down as far as you can, right? You should be able to get it to your chest. If you can't, don't worry about that yet. But we'll come down, and then while staying in a tucked position, you're going to rotate. And you see how far you can go. A lot of people will cheat this. They'll come, they'll pick the head up, they'll do all kinds of weird things. If you can, get a friend to keep you honest or take a videotape and see. All right, so you come down, and then you rotate the other way. Right, so on video, you might see that there's a difference. If you have pain on one side and not on the other, don't think about that too much yet. We'll get into that in the blog, but we have some other tests to do. Test number two, so it looks a lot like the first test, but this time we're gonna rotate first and then flex. Okay, so same thing, we're looking at the upper cervical segments, so we'll rotate, and then we'll bring the chest down, or the chin down. We're trying to get that chin to the collarbone, okay? So you check one side, and then you check the other. Right, so what you can do to kind of compare is you can use your fingers. So if I go to this side, I come down, I might notice about one finger widths in between. If I go the other way and down, maybe I'm touching on that side, okay? But the idea is that you should be able to rotate and touch on one side, rotate and touch on the other. If that's not possible, then we have some treatment options for you. Okay, so you've done your rotation and flexion test, and now what we're gonna do is we're gonna search around for some trigger points. So when you did those tests, you might have had some tender spots in the neck as you were rotating. Like I said before, that's not very specific. Those tests are just gonna let you know whether or not you have a problem with rotation. But what you can do now is you can start searching. All right, so you can take a ball or you can take your fingers and start rolling it around in the neck and finding tender spots. This is super simple. This could be the only and first test that you do as well. So you'll go around, right? Like I said before, a lot of times, right, the problem can be in these upper cervical areas. We call them the suboccipitals, but you'll also find areas other places. So roll through the neck, find a spot. When you find a spot that's tender, you go ahead and treat it. That could be gold. Okay, so like I said before with the ball, as you're rolling around, you can search for spots, but there's also other muscles that refer to the head, right? So we also have your sternocleidomastoid, which runs in the front. So you can go through with the ball and you can roll around, feeling for tender spots here. You'll also run into scalenes and some other muscles. You can do that on the other side. If you don't have a ball, feel free, just use your fingers, press around, feel for some tender areas. Another spot that gives us a lot of trouble is the upper traps. And then we have your levator scapula back here. So right now this is gonna be a little trouble using my hand, but if you can, you use a friend's hand, or if you have a Theracane or something like that, you can dig into the upper traps, the levator, and find some other spots. Now it's gonna be money. If you find a spot that refers to your head, that's great. You found a great spot. If it's just tender, it's still worth treating. Okay, so now that you know how to do a nice gentle chin tuck, we're gonna test and see how much endurance you have with those neck muscles. So come on down to the floor with me. From this position, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna lightly tuck the chin like we were working on before, and then I'm gonna raise up. I should be able to hold this position for at least 40 seconds as a male. Right? If you start noticing a lot of big muscle contractions, if that head starts jutting forward or you're shaking like there's an earthquake, then you failed.